Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again to another installment of Tico's BFS DFS tutorial. We're building up to that point right now. We just recently, in the last two videos, we talked about the Q class and the stack class, both of which are going to be used in BFS and DFS when we get there. This video is going to be all about graphs and the first few methods on that graph class. So, what is a graph? A graph is a data structure that can be used to describe relationships. Okay? I'm sorry, that's too many relationships going on there. Fix that. Boom. Okay. So with the graph, it's a really good data structure to represent relationships because you have something called a vertex. Plural would be vertices. Here. And these vertices can be thought of as, let's think of them as friends. Let's think of them as people, okay? And then these lines in between each of these vertices, they're called edges. And edges are a way for graphs to display the relationship between two vertices, okay? And so you can have a unidirectional relationship where that's like a one-way relationship, right? That's where the girl likes the guy, but the guy doesn't like the girl back. You can have also like bidirectional relationships where the arrow points both ways, indicating that it's a two-way relationship. Think of Facebook, right? So when you're friends with someone on Facebook, they have to be your friend back. Whereas a unidirectional relationship is like Twitter, right? Because you can follow somebody, but that doesn't mean that they have to follow you back. So that's a really good way to think of the different kinds of relationships that can be represented by these edges. Okay, so we're going to define the graph class for you. So let's start with class graph. Okay, so what do you think the first method on the graph class is? You guessed it, it's the init. So we're going to start with init, and that's used to initialize an instance of the graph. And so in Python, graphs are usually represented with like an object, or like a dictionary, right? So we're going to put self dot vertices equals this empty object that you can store items in. Cool. All right, so the next method we're going to talk about is the add vertex method. So we're going to define add, that's an underscore here, sorry, vertex. That's going to take in two parameters, self, and this is going to be vertex ID. I'm just writing it shorthand, VID, okay? And now, what we want to do is we want to add a vertex. So I'm going to put self dot vertices, and then we're going to have the hard bracket there to indicate the at the index of self.vertices at the index of vertex ID is going to be equal to an instance of a set, right? Okay, and a set is just, it's an unordered, unindexed collection of items in Python. Cool? All right. And the last method we're going to talk about for today in this graph class right now is the add edge method. So that's going to help us define the relationships between these vertices. So if you're using this function here to add a vertex, let's say you already have an existing graph, okay? You add a vertex, just because you add the vertex does not necessarily mean that it's going to be connected to any of these pre-existing vertices. So when you add a vertex, but you don't add a relationship or an edge, then what you're doing is you're just adding it within the same vicinity. There's no connection there. That's like a person that came within your social network, but they're not connected to anybody. So you got to get them connected. Make some friends, you know what I'm saying? All right, so we're going to define add edge. Just like that. And this method is going to take in 3 parameters. It's going to take in self. It's going to take in, I'm going to call it vertex 1 ID. And then the third parameter is going to be vertex 2 ID. Okay? And vertex 1 ID is the vertex that you would like to add a connection to or a relationship to with the second vertex ID, okay, vertex 2 ID. So, first thing we need to do is we need to make sure that both vertices actually exist. Remember, you cannot create a relationship with things that don't exist unless you hang out with yourself and talk to yourself like me. That's cool, then you can have a relationship with yourself. Moving on. So I'm going to use an if statement to evaluate whether or not these parameters that are being passed in actually exist within our current graph. Okay? So we're going to say if vertex 1 ID not in self dot vertices, do the following. So we're going to do self dot vertices at the index of vertex 1 ID is equal to an instance of a set. Kind of the same thing that we did up here. We're just adding the vertex because we realize that it's not in there. And we're going to do the same exact thing for the vertex 2 ID. We're also going to use an if statement to evaluate it. So if vertex 2 ID not in self.vertices, we're going to do the following, which is the same as the above. Self.vertices at the index of vertex 2 ID is going to be equal to an instance of a set. We want to make sure that both of those vertices exist before we try to add any edges or relationships. And then the last step in that method is creating that relationship. We're going to have it lined up with this indentation here of these if statements. We're going to say self dot vertices at the index of vertex 1 ID dot add, and that's a method there with the set, and we're going to add vertex 2 ID. And that's going to create that relationship we're looking for in between the vertices there. All right. So that's it for the graph class for today. We're going to be discussing the other methods, BFT and DFT next. So look forward to see you there.